Do you know ball?
You know ball?
Do you know ball?
Do you know ball?
Do you know ball?
Do you know ball episode 57, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to your favorite podcast on the internet. My name is Matthew DeGennaro. I'm joined here with Zachary Pappenberg. Zach, say hi.
What's going on, everybody?
And we are joined with a special guest again, former Division III athlete, Jonathan Stevens. Say hi, Jonathan.
What's going on, guys? Good to be back. I'm very excited. Let's go.
All
All
right,
right,
let's hop right into it.
he's
Johnny, we're
ready.
this first segment is all you. We're gonna give this all to you, give you the reins, let your heart out. Speak what you want to say about the New York Knicks.
All right, so as everyone knows, the Knicks lost in game six versus the Indiana Pacers. They did not come back, even though some of us had hope. But very frustrating to see, especially for New York, a team that's been in the dumpster for quite some time. Uh, and we could like talk about how every each game went and all that stuff. But the bottom line is the Knicks ran into the better team. The Pacers were the better team. They were better defensively, offensively. They we got beat. How it is, that's what like there's a lot of things you can look at. Tyrese Halliburton, Siakam played amazing basketball. Brunson, gave it his all, I'd say. Um, there wasn't much like the Knicks just don't have enough depth right now. And I've been saying that. I said in game one when the Knicks lost, that was the game you had to win. You always have to win the first game when you're home. You just have to. Because now the Pacers said, oh, let's go take two and let's go back. And then that puts more pressure on the Knicks when you're down one and you have to play another game at home because you don't want to go down two. And then they lost those two games, and I knew that it was pretty much over. There was just no way like they were gonna come back and win the series. There just wasn't. The Pacers are too good. This is a series. This was a series that was gonna where the game was gonna come down to every to the wire every time. So, it sucks. And they talked about they fired Tom Tibbs, the guy that brought them to four playoff appearances. This is the first time they've been to the Eastern Conference Finals in the last 24, 25 years. And it sucks to see him go, but I we all have our issues with the guy. I personally think that despite all his issues, I still would have brought him back. You don't fire some like I don't get why you fire somebody that brings you the success that brought a team back to relevancy that was just so bad for such a long period of time. And I just think it's a scapegoat. I think it's something to say, oh yeah, we're doing something in the off season just to say we did something. And they people are like, oh well, he doesn't play, he plays his guys too long, whatever. The guy brought the team success. I think it's stupid that you're gonna fire him what because you didn't make the finals. Is that what that is? But whatever. That's all I have to say uh about the Knicks.
Yeah. Me personally, just watching the Knicks and seeing them get eliminated. I can't say that I said so because I really didn't. But you guys, everybody was commenting on our videos saying that there was no way that the Knicks were going to lose, especially not with Cat and Mitchell Robinson now, um, against the Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals, and they lost. So the only thing I was going to say about that part was that you can't be super confident in a team because anything could happen in the playoffs, right? The Pacers are a gritty team. They have a lot of talent on that roster. Again, I said it in the last video we did about this. I'm going to say it again. They have been there. They beat the Knicks before, and they could do it again. And that's all I was trying to say before, and that's all I was trying to say now. And they did. So good for the Pacers. But the Knicks, I really don't know where you go from here. They could just use Thibodeau as a scapegoat, like you said, Johnny. But there was a lot of Knicks fans that I've seen across like X and all that that were actually happy that Thibodeau was fired and got is now not no longer a part of the Knicks organization. So
Why?
I don't know. I don't know exactly why, but the Knicks fans spoke and they said some of them said that they liked the firing, that they like that he's no longer a part of the team. Maybe it's because Delon Wright got a lot of minutes and Laundry Shamet got minutes in a crucial game 6 where you need to win or go home, and they were taking shots, a lot of shots. Granted, I know Brunson and a lot of the starters need some rest, but still, when you got them in for multiple minutes and they're taking a good amount of shots, still, I can see why people are frustrated about that. But then again, also it came down to game 4. There was a lot of difficulties with the refs and the calls on the court, and obviously the game 1 was a crucial game for the Knicks. But
Game
you
one,
know,
and they lost 2 games at home. That's unacceptable. But
Well, I mean, look. They might not be in that position if you don't choke game one, right? Remember that, Johnny Halliburton?
yep, I do. And then the Pacers choked. What was it, game 3?
The Pacers won the series. Anyway, I
Deej,
could
do you
talk.
do you have anything to add
I'd love
about
to.
this?
I'd
Yeah,
love to.
good.
As a brand new temporary Indiana Pacers fan, I'm absolutely excited for us. I think the fact that we're finally in the NBA Finals.
Stop.
What? What?
Keep going.
I don't know. Okay. Look, as a new temporary Indiana Pacers fan for the next week or two, I'm super happy for us. First off, Tyrese Halliburton, incredible performance. A lot of people were discrediting him in the regular season, saying he's overrated. No, he shut all those conversations down. He didn't win MVP. Siakam won MVP, which I will touch on. But without Halliburton, that Pacers team is entirely different. They're not in that position to begin with because they built this team around Halliburton. They realized Halliburton is a star in the making, so they had to capitalize on his potential and capitalize on his age because they'll have him for the foreseeable future. And they traded him for Pascal Siakam, which I believe was like what? Bruce Brown and like 3 first-round picks. And if the Pacers are always going to keep being competitive like this, those picks are going to convey to really late first rounders, especially if the Pacers go on to win the finals. Then I believe the pick will be like pick 30 in the first round. So great trade by the Pacers. As long as they can, keep their core for the foreseeable future, like Miles Turner. He's been in trade reports for years and always reported to go to like the Lakers or whatever other stupid contending team that would need a center. And he's just stuck it out. And Miles Turner is now a key piece in a championship run for the Indiana Pacers. But just overall, Halliburton showed up when he had to. You had Nemhard was doing what he does. You had obviously Siakam and Turner and like just the whole team as a whole just played better basketball than the New York Knicks. This Knicks team, I think, got a little lucky that the Celtics were injured. I'm why are you making that face, Johnny? I'm just
But
saying.
they were up 2-0 before Tatum even got hurt.
I understand that. I understand that. But I think they got a little lucky. I think
Okay.
they got a little lucky. And from a non-Knicks fan perspective, as a massive Knicks hater, I can happily say this that I think their window might be shot. I do. I think I look at this as like the Yankees last year, Johnny, right? Let's talk on a baseball level, something that I know you can understand a little bit more clearly, right? The Yankees' best shot last year was that path they had. Is that correct?
Yes.
They had arguably the easiest path to the World Series, correct?
Yes.
Who they play? The Royals, the
Royals.
Guardians.
Yeah.
They're lucky they didn't have to play a wild card game because other than that, Royals and then Guardians, and then they had to play the top tier Dodgers, correct?
Correct.
Okay. That's how I view with the Knicks. I think the Knicks had such an easy route this year that I don't think it's going to get any easier. I don't. I think the fact that they actually beat the Celtics, whether you want to credit it to injuries or luck, whatever, whatnot, they got past that hurdle. They did. And you got an ideal matchup. And yes, the Pacers did beat you the year prior, but you're the higher seed. You have home court advantage in a 7-game series,
Mhm.
and you just did not play your best basketball. And what?
No, keep going. I'll finish when you.
Okay, I'm just saying, like I'm not even trying to hate. I'm just trying to be like realistic. Is like the Knicks had their shot, and with all the rumors swirling around of like potentially trading for a Giannis or a Kevin Durant, which we will get into later in this podcast, that will tighten their window. They don't have the assets for Giannis. They just do not. All the picks are in Brooklyn because of the Mikal Bridges trade, which looks like a disaster. It's not a good trade for the Knicks. The Nets, they sold high on his value. So the Knicks, there's not a lot of room to improve this roster. And if you can like gather up whatever assets you can to trade for Kevin Durant, you tighten your window dramatically because Kevin Durant's like 35 years old. So like you legitimately was like a mid-aged, team is now getting shrunk and that window closes. And I just do not think that it's going to be any easier for the Knicks to potentially make the NBA Finals, let alone win the NBA Finals. So that's kind of all I have to say before I start rambling. I just think the Pacers they came ready to play and they were just the better basketball team. And credit to Siakam, credit to Halliburton, and credit to Rick Carlisle, great coach.
I
So we'll
agree.
see. Mhm.
I
Yeah,
agree.
so also speaking of the Pacers, Deej, why don't you just lead us straight into the next topic?
Oh my God, yeah, thank you. I love the Pacers and the Nets. I'm a Nets fan, but for the next week and a half, go Pacers. So, with the Pacers officially eliminating the New York Knicks, the NBA Finals matchup is set. The Indiana Pacers will be taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder. For those that are not aware, if you forgot, the Thunder are the 1 seed in the West. Pacers are the 4 seed in the West. So we have or in the East, sorry. Pacers are the 4 seed in the East. So we have a potentially big underdog, setting for the Indiana Pacers and the Oklahoma and versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. So what I do want to get into is first off, I'm going to ask you guys who is going to win the finals and in how many games? I want to start with our ball knower, Johnny.
I think the Thunder win in six.
Okay, incorrect. Zach. I'm kidding, Johnny.
Um,
You're entitled to your opinion. In
yeah,
six. Okay,
Johnny,
that's
Johnny, if you
interesting.
want to elaborate a little more on that, you can, but I'll say mine real quick. I think the Thunder are gonna win in either 4 or 5. I
Okay.
think they just got so much depth, but I'll go into it in a second. Deej, what do you think?
For before I speak, I do want I feel I'm sorry, Johnny. I want you to elaborate a little bit.
I think they're going to win. The Thunder will win 6 or 7. I think that the Pacers are absolutely not going to go down. They're not going to get crushed. They're not. They're going to take this to 7 games. They're a gritty team.
So
Uh,
is it six or
they're going
seven
for
games? 7?
7.
Okay. So it's OKC and 7 is your
Yes.
prediction.
Uh,
Okay.
I think they're gonna play gritty. I think it's gonna come down to the wire for most of the time. I think there may be 1 game or 2 games maybe where the Thunder run away with it, but other than that, I don't see them just blowing them out like some other people are saying. Like, oh, it's not like an easy matchup for the Thunder. I just don't.
Okay. Zach, you
Yeah,
want to
well,
elaborate?
I think the complete opposite. I think the Thunder are just gonna wash them only because I know you can't count any team out in the playoffs, but I think the Thunder are going to beat them in 4 and 5, like I said, because of the depth and because of that roster. They have such talent on that team, and also with the additions of Caruso and Hartenstein, like those are pretty important like depth pieces to add to that team. And Hartenstein's been an absolute demon for them. Like he's an Iron Man. He's a workhorse. This is what he does. He gets boards. He doesn't need to score. He facilitates for the team. He's just an all-around valuable piece to have coming off the bench and stuff like that. So I just think that they have so much talent on that roster that they are gonna wash the Pacers. Granted, the Pacers are a gritty team, but still, I mean, they faced the Nuggets, they faced the Timberwolves. Those are two pretty tough teams. I just think that OKC's just got the advantage here and is gonna just, show who they are, show what they're made of. And I think
Hmm.
OKC is gonna win a championship, which is something that they've been close to in the past, but in the Durant days, but they've never really gotten over that hump. And now they have a chance. They have a solid chance and that's why I think they're gonna win in like either 4 or 5.
Okay. See, this is where you just both are wrong. It's obviously Pacers in 4, and let me tell you why.
Oh my God.
I'm just kidding. It's not Pacers in 4. I wish, but here we go. I do think realistically, I do think the Thunder will win. I don't agree that they're going to absolutely dominate the Pacers. The Pacers are a good basketball team. They dismantled the teams that they've played. They've always been a very good team. They're just a definition of team basketball. And on top of that, you have Siakam and you have Halliburton. So the Pacers are not going to get killed. I am probably going to say this is a 6 game scenario because I don't see the Pacers only winning 1 game. I think they will win two. And if the Pacers do go on to win the series, then props to the Pacers. And I'm cheering for y'all because I am a Pacers fan for the next week. But I do see OKC just being the all around better team, better talent. And I think, as Zach said, they've been so close the past couple of years. And, even in the past with um, Kevin Durant and Harden and Westbrook. And, like they deserve this. Seattle lost its team. They relocate. Now you got the Thunder, and just a lot of things have happened for this franchise. And if they can finally come full circle and win their first NBA championship, that would be great for them. So I do think OKC will win in 6, but do not count out the Indiana Pacers. Do not count out the Indiana Pacers. They're gonna be tough. They're gonna be tough.
Yeah, I agree. And, let's just keep this train rolling. So obviously we mentioned a little bit earlier about a potential Giannis trade with the Knicks now that they lost to the Pacers, and now they're kind of in that scenario where they're looking to see like what's next? What's next for our team? So I've seen a lot of potential packages like made or like mock trades made across the internet. Um, there's obviously not a world where you keep both Brunson and Cat in a deal with Giannis. Obviously, they're keeping Brunson. So I've seen some deals with Mikal Bridges and Cat along with whatever picks they have left or whatever other assets they have left for Giannis. And that's just like an example of what I've been seeing across the internet. But I don't know. I genuinely don't know what exactly you could throw together to get Giannis. To your point, Deej, like you said before, they simply just don't really have the assets. You know what I mean? Like they traded 6 first rounders to the Nets for Macau, and I really don't know what they would put together. What kind of offer they would put on the table for the Bucks to review, and what kind of offer that would make the Bucks be like, we should probably accept this. We should definitely trade Giannis, the face of our franchise, and send him over to the Knicks. I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna have that good of a compelling offer. Deej, what do you think? Let's hear your thoughts first.
Mhm. So the thing with Giannis to the Knicks is just the fact that, like I said, and like you reiterated, they just do not have the assets. And do I think necessarily Giannis to the Knicks makes them championship favorites? Um, no, I don't. Do I think that they can run the Eastern Conference? I don't know about run, but I definitely think that the East is a lot wide open, more wide open than it was before. And if you just take one of, the best players from an opposing team, a contending team in the Eastern Conference, and you slap them on your roster, I mean, like, yeah, I think the Knicks would be a good team, but I'm a hater, so I feel like I'm the worst person to ask in terms of how their outlook is. If I'm looking at a Giannis to Knicks offer, though, I guess Cat would have to be in it. Do they throw? You have to throw in what if McCall or OG, right, or both? Like I don't know what the Bucks are looking for. The Knicks have none of their own first round picks to throw in the trade, so it's like I'll ask the Knicks fan here, Jonathan, like what would be like your package for
Yeah,
Giannis if you're
I'm
the
just gonna
Knicks?
shut it down. Don't even do it. You don't need to do it. They don't have depth. You don't. We made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Why are we trying to clean house? You just fired the coach, and now you're gonna dismantle the whole team because we were a series away from the finals. I think it's crazy. I think it doesn't make any sense that you're gonna have a good chance to run the conference next year already with the roster you have now. Tatum just tore his Achilles. He's not gonna play all year next year. The Celtics will not be nearly as good as they were last year. You don't have to do that. Just the Knicks need depth. That's what they need. That's why they lost the series. This whole narrative that we need to get star players to change the team and become a championship team is ridiculous. You don't. It's. I'm tired of people talking about it. Like, did you know from experience we had KD, Kyrie, and James Harden? How did that work out?
Well, we lost because of injuries, not just
Hey,
like
well, you know what I'm trying to say. Like, it's uh, sure. There's no way. you're keeping, like Zach said, and I said this before the pod started, there's no way you're keeping Cat and Brunson together, which I think is a great pair to get Giannis. And yeah, you're gonna have to give away a good amount of things, and you don't have the assets to do it.
I want to touch on that. Not that I'm not saying I disagree with you, but there are actually people on like Twitter, social media that actually do not like the pairing of Cat and Brunson, mainly for the fact that neither of them play defense.
I
So
mean,
like what are your thoughts on that? Do you think like if you trade Cat and like you get a better defensive minded center instead of trading whatever you can for Giannis, like what's your like
I'm
I've seen people
sure
want
that
Sabonis maybe instead, but I don't know if Sabonis really moves the needle either.
no, I think that they need depth. I think if they kept like people are saying, oh, Tibbs plays these guys too long. Well, who else is he gonna throw in there? He has nobody. There's no one to put in. Like it's that's the problem. And I really don't think it's a good idea to reshape a team after making it to the conference finals. I just don't. I don't think it makes any sense.
Yeah, I honestly I agree with you because if they did trade right like OG and Cat or like McCall and Cat for Giannis along with other things, like what do you have left? You have like Brunson, right? And you have
So
Giannis.
if
Then you
you give
have
up Cat and probably let's say they give up all three. Let's say they give up McCall, uh, Cat, and OG. So that would be Brunson, Hart, uh, I don't even know who would be at three.
I don't know who you would slot at the three, but it'd probably be Giannis and then Mitchell Robinson,
Yeah, that just
something
and
like that, some kind of
I
combination like that.
think that's
You don't think Mitchell Robinson would be in the trade? You think I don't see that's the thing
I mean, that'd be tough. You know what I mean? Like,
like in a Giannis just weird it's just so weird because if the Knicks had their picks, whatever debate we're having, you could just replace those players with those draft picks, but they don't. So now you're focused on a a player heavy trade, and the Bucks don't even have their first round picks. So if they like go on like a tank or a rebuild, they don't have their picks to play around with. So that's why like I just imagine Giannis going to a team that has a lot of draft picks to offer, which is why I just don't see the Knicks happening. I just don't
it
see it
should
happening.
happen.
yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say just before. Again, just going back to my point. Again, if you add Giannis, you trade those guys away and you add Giannis, I can't say that they're a better team because then they have the same issue. Johnny, you've been saying this the whole time, and everybody pretty much on the planet has been saying the Knicks need depth. They lost a series because they didn't have any depth. If you just get Giannis and you trade away those key guys, I don't feel like you're getting any better. I feel like you're getting worse, honestly, because you really just have, the couple of your key guys that you had, a couple of your role players, your Iron Man and Josh Hart, and then Mitchell Robinson and some guys off the bench, Deuce and everybody like that. But you're not getting any better. You're losing pieces, if anything. I would think. Um, so that's why I don't think Giannis really makes sense either. I really don't because again, problem's depth. If the problem is depth, then that's what you should be going after instead of just trying to blow it up for a star player.
You
And
can
that's
find
again what you've been saying, Johnny. So,
somebody, and I correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they have a second round pick, and I think you can find someone suitable to develop and become a key role player for the Knicks in the draft. I just do. You keep Tibbs, you find depth, and you give it another run. That's what they should have done, but it's too late. So I don't know what they're gonna do now.
well, it's too late for that. And speaking of more trade rumors and more reports, KD and the Suns want to trade Kevin Durant. I've seen a lot of things across social media about this. And again, one of the destinations could potentially be the Knicks, probably for the same type of package that I've been mentioning with the Giannis type deal. So it could look similar if they tried to actually go after Durant, but then again, it doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. But some other teams that are involved and could make sense for are the Spurs, yeah, the Rockets, and Minnesota. Maybe some other teams are involved, but those are some of the other teams that makes sense. I feel like Houston would be a fun pairing. They got a really good young roster. If you add a good star player to that, a good veteran too of the league, who knows what that team could do? That team could be special. The Spurs are obviously the talk of the town right now because they do have the second pick in the draft, and everybody it seems to be like they're gonna take Dylan Harper with their second pick, but I don't know if they actually really need Dylan Harper, so maybe they move that second pick, and that's what we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks. If they decide to move that second pick in the draft, maybe it's more valuable to a team like the Suns, and the Suns could be willing to give up Durant to the Spurs, with that pick and other things included, probably, of course. So that could be fun, and then Minnesota. I mean, Ant's superhero, right, is Kevin Durant. So you can imagine, right, if you pair Ant with Durant, see what they could do together, they'd probably be a force to be reckoned with in the league too. So again, all these are fun options. The only one that really, again, still just doesn't make sense is the Knicks. But I'm interested to see what you guys think about this. So Johnny, why don't you kick us off?
All right. Well, first of all, I don't even think we should talk about the Knicks. That's even worse than Giannis. The man's 36 years old. If we throw away all these young guys, like Kevin Durant, who really, I think that's absolutely even more ridiculous than before. I think the Timberwolves makes the most sense. I don't see the Spurs throwing away the second overall pick in the draft to get a 36-year-old Kevin Durant. I think that's whatever. I think the Timberwolves, honestly, that makes sense. Ant's young. Katie's a vet. They kind of need a vet on that team. They got Randall, Edwards, and then they got Kate. I think that's a pretty good core three. I think that's for the teams you mentioned, that's his best landing spot. I think the Knicks should be completely off the table.
That's interesting. Interesting. What's your thoughts, Deej?
Yeah, no, I agree. As I said before, I think the Knicks should stay away from Kevin Durant simply just because it does tighten their window. Um, I almost like genuinely trying to think like what would the Suns want? Like imagining they're keeping Devin Booker and Bradley Beal because that contract is just immovable. Do they want Julius Randle in return? I know Johnny, you mentioned a big three of those three, but I could almost see Randle or is Randle a free agent? Or like is he a free agent?
I think Randall might be a free agent. I think you might be right on that. Hold on.
Well,
Go ahead,
yeah,
continue. I'll fact check that.
let's just say imagine he signs back with the Timberwolves. They do some sign and trade, or he's on the team. He has a player option. Just say pretend Randall is on the team. I don't see how Randall's not included in that deal. I mean, I think they traded too much for Rudy Gobert that for them to move him. I think if you can do like Randall and I don't think they would trade McDaniels. Like, I mean, Dillingham, maybe Rob Dillingham, maybe they trade him. Like, and then some picks that they have. Like, it's the same thing with the Giannis trade. I know we already saw what a Kevin Durant trade looks like, but he was also like 4 years, 3 years younger when he made that trade, and he was also coming off like pretty good performances with the Nets. The Suns have not been great, so I think that definitely diminishes his trade value. So that's just for Minnesota. Knicks, we already crossed off. Spurs in Houston, very interesting. And I think the Spurs will look at Giannis, and if they can't get Giannis, they will pivot to Kevin Durant. Houston, I'm not even going to go into Houston because we know it. We've talked about Houston so much and the things that they can offer in terms of Jalen Green, Jabari Smith, Reed Shepard, Cam Whitmore, and all the freaking picks that they do have to offer. I'm not going to go into Houston. I think Spurs and Houston both make a lot of sense, and they both have the assets to get the trade done. It just depends, which team pulls the trigger first.
Yeah, and also to add to the Julius Randle thing, he was in the third year of his contract last year. I believe this is the fourth year now, but he has an opt out,
Okay.
so
Mhm.
he might elect to go to free agency and test the market out, see how that works. But I don't know. I don't know if he is. He might just want to stay with the Timberwolves, but then again, if he does that and they are trying to go for a guy like Durant, you like you said, I could see him in a package for Durant. I could see him being something of value in a deal like that. So I mean, it could go a bunch of ways. Again, Spurs and Houston, like you said too, I think they both of them would be a great fit. Minnesota is also a fun fit too. So we'll see where he ends up if he does get traded. The Suns might just not trade him and hold back like they did at the deadline. There was a lot of rumors that he was going to go to Memphis and a few other teams, even the Spurs too, in during the deadline. But nothing came of it because certain things fell through. Maybe it was on the other side of other teams, but nothing came of it. So maybe they hold on to him, maybe they don't. Um, but let's see. Hopefully he does get moved. I would like to see Durant in a new spot because I feel like he's sort of drowning in Phoenix. Is that fair to say?
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
just feel like he needs a change of scenery.
Yeah, I think Phoenix completely wasted Kevin Durant's last couple of years of his prime, and I think if he stayed in Brooklyn, he would have been fine. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, that time has passed, but
Mhm.
we're at the last topic of the night, and that is Corbin Burnes. Corbin Burnes is technically dead right now. Corbin Burnes he was pitching against the Nationals on June 1st, a couple days ago, about
Mhm.
3 days ago. Um, and he got pulled from the game because he had to. He literally called trainers over, called people over, and literally told them I can't go anymore. And he looked visibly upset on the mound as he was getting carted or not carted off the field, as he was walking off the field. Um, and after the game, the Diamondbacks manager said that it's a serious injury, and they're hopeful. They were hopeful that maybe it wasn't as bad, but it's really looking like Tommy John, and you hate to see it because they just got Burns too. They just signed him in the offseason, and this is the first year and this is his first injury stint of the year, and it seems like it's going to be a long one. It seems like it's going to last for a long time. He could be out for the rest of the season, if not over half of next season, too. So this is a huge blow for them. I thought that their rotation drastically improved. Obviously, when you add an ace like Burns to Gallen and Merrill Kelly and all the other guys, Brandon Pfaadt, and you know, Tommy Henry. I don't know where they're gonna go now from here. I think the plan is probably at the deadline's approaching for the MLB. We're seeing some little moves be exchanged between teams, but as we get closer, we could probably see them maybe go and attack starting pitching at the deadline. Maybe they could be one of the teams that are in on Sandy. Maybe because the Marlins, they're out of it pretty much. They have no chance of making it to the playoffs. They don't have the team for it. So Sandy's really that last piece from that Marlins team that did make it to the playoffs a few years ago. And he hasn't really had the greatest year. So his value's at an all-time low, probably right now. So maybe it makes sense if they try to go grab an ace like that because they certainly need something to bounce back from this drastic Corbin Burnes injury. So I can totally see them jumping in the mix with a potential Sandy trade and having him fill in the duties while Burnes is on the shelf and they wait for him to return at some point next year if it is in fact Tommy John. We don't know yet. It seems likely, but we'll find out probably in the next coming days. So Deej, Johnny, what's your thoughts on this?
I want Johnny to go. Johnny, I think you're very enlightened. You have a lot of enlightenment on this topic.
Yeah, it's never good when a pitcher, you know, says there's pain or a problem with their elbow. That's always the number one indicator for Tommy John. It sucks. It's something that we're seeing more of in the MLB. The Yankees, we just saw with Garrett Cole, the Braves saw with Spencer Strider last year. Um, and it sucks. These guys work really hard. They put all their time, they know their bodies. So when you see a guy emotional coming off the field, it's never something you want to see. And, we hope that whatever it is, he gets a speedy recovery and keep him in your prayers.
Mhm. Yeah, honestly, same. I saw the clip where he pretty much said like his arm is dead, or someone said his arm was dead. I didn't see the full, I wasn't watching the game, but it sucks when a pitcher of his caliber, goes down like that. And there's like a whole thing in the league now where just you can't pitch without, probably getting Tommy John at least once. And pitchers are getting hurt a lot more. And as Cece Sabathia likes to say, they're not pitchers anymore. They're just throwers. And, the way pitching and the mechanics of everything like that has changed. And if you actually look at the game logs for the game, if you look deeper, his velocity was decreasing dramatically throughout the game. Like, how many innings did he pitch? Three, four, five? I don't know. It
Something
wasn't a
like
lot.
that. It
It wasn't
wasn't
a
a lot.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like if you just look inning by inning, like for his cutter, for example, he went from throwing like 95 to like 92, 91. Like it just kept dropping, just showing like, especially in the early innings, that's never a good sign. So hopefully, Corbin Burnes is able to come back, speedy recovery, and this leaves the Diamondbacks' future in question. They could sell at the deadline. They could, try and buy back in and make some moves like Zach was saying. I have no idea, but hopefully Corbin Burnes is in a speedy recovery state, like Johnny said.
Yeah, and you know what, too, there's also the other aspect of it. You always got to look at the aspect of is when he comes back, is he going to be the same pitcher? Is he going to be the same electric Corbin Burnes that everybody knows and loves? Or is this going to be a career changer? Is this injury going to set him back and put him at a point where he is no longer that dominant ace that they signed an offseason ago? They he could come back and he could be just totally not good at all. So we'll see how he does. Hopefully it's not Tommy John because you gotta pray for that first. And if it is Tommy John, then you just gotta hope he goes through the recovery process quickly and just gets back on the field as soon as he can because that's all you could really do. This is a big blow for the Diamondbacks, and we'll just see what they do if they make any moves at the deadline. Like I said, Sandy would be a terrific option, especially with his low value right now. But there's other options out there. Maybe they look for a lesser pitcher. Maybe they want a mid-level guy that just can eat innings at the back half of the rotation. That could be a possibility as well. But we'll see what they do. We'll see what they do at the deadline. But that about wraps up episode 57 of the Do You Know Ball podcast.
Before we end it, I do want everyone to know that Jonathan Stevens has officially committed to Rutgers University. Everyone give a round of applause. Jonathan, before this is your exit interview. For those that don't know, I'm also a proud student of Rutgers University. So, this leaves Jonathan in a lot of, scenarios where he might be on the pod a lot more often. So, Jonathan, I want you right now to pitch to us and to the viewers why you should be a permanent member of this podcast. As you want to be. That's what you said. Those are your words. You want to be a permanent member.
Almost, thank you for the acknowledgement. I
Of course.
appreciate it. I'm excited about it. I definitely first of all, I think I love sports. Obviously, not as much as D's, not as much as Zach. They know,
But you're
more
you're the,
vers-
you're the professional
we're a
athlete
lot
here.
more versatile when it comes to sports. But I love football, I love baseball, and I love most of basketball. Uh, Big New York sports fan. I have a lot of passion for sports. I played baseball all high school, played a year of college ball, so like I'm an athlete. I still,
Division 3 athlete.
I still do this stuff. I love sports. I'm into it. Sometimes I can get a little riled up and bring some, passion.
And we love that.
That's really all I can say. So I'd be honored to be considered by Matt and Zach,
Mhm.
and I'd be honored if I could be on the show and keep giving you guys my opinions.
Johnny, if I had to compare you to a fruit, I'd consider you a tomato, because tomatoes, right? Sometimes when we talk to you about your sports takes, they're a little questionable, right? Like the taste of a tomato is questionable, right? Not a lot of people like tomatoes, correct? And people people question, is a tomato a fruit? Is a tomato a vegetable? So there's some questionable traits there. But when you go deeper with the tomato, you get ketchup. And everyone loves ketchup. So everyone loves Johnny. We love having you on the pod. So, and soon, ketchup is like a staple. Ketchup becomes a staple in French fries and like cheeseburgers and stuff. So if you might become a staple on this podcast, right? So round of applause, everyone. Jonathan Stevens, man.
Round of applause for Jonathan Stevens. Um, Thank you guys for watching. That about wraps up episode 57 of the Dino Ball podcast. We will catch you guys next week for episode 58.
9,
Fif
59. Wait, is it
59.
this
No,
58?
it's 58. I'm pretty sure it's,
Damn, did I screw up? I know, because I was thinking the number 58.
I think it's 58. Fact check me on that real quick.
Johnny, you should do this. Johnny, what episode are we on?
I'm pretty sure you said 57 at the start of the show. So
Okay, I believe Johnny. Johnny
So,
wants to be a member of this pod, I believe. That
so
was a
we
test. You
will
passed.
we
Congrats.
will catch you guys in episode 58, and we will see you guys next time.